what you see behind me is what seems to be City Power just trying to resolve the electricity issue and the electricity challenges that have been experienced in part of Roodepoort. Now, we understand, based on a media statement issued by City Power, that they have been inundated with technical issues and calls from residents who have been without power for nearly 24 hours, particularly because of all the issues and the issues that have emerged from the flooding that has taken place in some parts. We understand that they have received somewhere around 4,800 calls from the areas, and service providers, and the service provider rather, has been unsure as to whether to attend to routine maintenance or try and restore power to various parts that have been affected. I'm joined by City Power's spokesperson, who's just going to give us a sense of the situation. We understand that this is one of the areas that you are going to be working on to try and restore the power. The roads are blocked, they're closed off, and this is not just based on the wear and tear that comes from load shedding, but also the issue of flooding.
Yes, we actually are having serious problems, especially in the areas of Roodepoort, Lenasia, even Hest Hill, parts of Randburg as well, partly due to this flooding that is happening. As you can see behind us, we're basically having a team of contractors that is attending to one of the many challenges that we're having in Roodepoort. Here on Albertina Sisulu Road, we are having a cable fault. We just basically done the excavating. So basically the repairs will happen, and then the people that are affected will basically get electricity. We've got many other areas that are actually also having the similar problems, and luckily now rain has subsided a little. We're able to do our work, because of also when it's raining, it's difficult to basically work with electricity, do joints on cables, and also deal with the flooded trenches. So but currently we are able to do our work, and we're hoping that we'll be able to at least reduce some of the backlog that we've been encountering across Roodepoort area.
Okay. Roodepoort is not the only area that seems to have been affected. We understand that you also have people stationed in Auckland Park. What seems to be the problem there, and what is the problem here? Because it seems rather big that you would dig up trenches this deep and close off the roads around here. But first, maybe let's just deal with why the roads have been closed. I think I see over there the road has somewhat collapsed. Talk to us about if this has actually affected your infrastructure.
So basically, most of this part of area is one of those that were affected by the initial heavy storms. If you remember last week from Monday, we've basically been battling this kind of storms. But also this area is one of those where we have experienced a lot of cable theft. So when we've got cable theft happening, what we do in terms of replacements is to basically join these cables together. So when there is too much rain, water seeps through, and you basically start to experience faults that like the one that we basically encountered here. But also when there is load shedding, the switching on and off, it basically targets the weakest points in terms of the cable itself, and that's why we basically encounter a lot of cable faults. And this is one of those where we basically encountered cable faults. There are many others where we basically have been dealing with the issues of cable faults, with the issues of submerged infrastructure like mini substations and so forth. So we've got these problems across the city of Johannesburg, not only in Roodepoort, as you mentioned, even in Hest Hill, Auckland Park area. We're having SABC is out as we part of SABC is out as we speak, but even most of the areas like Westbury and so forth, they've been having problems with electricity. It's between issues like, as I mentioned, cable fault, but also even cable theft that has been happening in those areas. But I must mention that the problem of this heavy rain has actually basically take us back. We've got huge backlog, 4,000, almost 5,000 calls as I'm talking to you now that we're basically dealing with from customers, most of them in Hest Hill and even the area. But also the issue of load shedding is actually taking a huge toll on our resources. It's taking a huge toll on our staff members, the people that are responding, because we've actually pulled all of them most of them from leave, so that we can be able to address what we are considering a crisis currently.
Okay. Now, Speaking of cable theft, I do understand that because in areas that are prone to cable theft, you have made the decision to replace those copper cables with aluminium, and you're saying that these are also some of the areas that get the most wear and tear. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes, so basically when we keep on changing cables, we basically weaken the cable itself because it's no longer together. So what happens now, because of with the rain, heavy rains, so it means a lot of water is basically going underground and it comes into contact with that with the cables. So the joints get weakened because of load shedding as well. But also the water started seeping into some of those cables, and that's when most of the faults are happening. So it is really a serious problem, and the cable theft on its own. But remember, it also happens because of load shedding. So when we've got downtime and the lights are off, cable thieves, that's when they basically start running amok. And the stretch of road has been one of the hardest hit by the thieves and vandals.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. Isaac Mangena, a City Power spokesperson, just speaking to us and giving us an update on the status of restoring power to affected areas, but also just talking about the perfect storm that they seem to be experiencing, which is a buildup of both cable theft as well as those the flooding rather in the area that has affected these areas and let water seep into those very crucial cables that bring electricity to different households. You will know that Auckland Park does not quite have electricity right now, and we do understand that there are some technicians on the ground trying to resolve all of those technical issues. You would have also heard that this situation has also created a huge backlog for City Power in terms of routine maintenance as well as just restoring and just tending to all those technical issues on the ground. It's back to you in studio.